All right, here's the cool thing. Please don't forget to mark up diagrams. And remember, we want to mark up things so we know them right away. So look at this first one. It says in parallelogram CDEF. So right away, I'm going to mark that my opposite sides are parallel. All right? What else do we know about parallelograms here? Oh, we know that the diagonals bisect each other. We know that opposite pairs of sides are congruent. And so I'm going to use an X here to make sure those two are the same. So we have all these things. We have what we're going to work with. So now let's label the diagram with the information that they give us. They go, the length of segment DE, this one right here, is 74. The length of segment DG is 31. And the measure of angle FCD, please connect the points. If you don't know what angle, that's a struggle. You have to fix not knowing. You have to connect the point, FCD. So this would be right here, this whole thing, 42 degrees, okay? Now, they're asking us for several things. They go, what's the length of segment CF? Well, with CF, what do I know about my opposite sides? They're congruent. So that means segment DE is equal to it. So CF is 74 because my opposite sides are congruent. Then they ask, what's the length of segment, oh, let's do the measure here, of angle ECF. So I'm looking, excuse me, I just said that wrong, EFC, right here. I'm looking for this angle. Well, look at the two sides here. Our angle EFC and angle FCD consecutive angles. Well, what do the consecutive angles tell us? Consecutive angles are supplementary. So I know then the measure of angle EFC is 180 minus 42. So that gives me 138 degrees. Then the last thing they're asking for is DF. Now DF is the length of the whole diagonal, but we know the diagonals bisect each other. I know half of it, so I have to double it to get the other one. So DF is 2 times DG, which is 31. So that's 62. All right, let's try another example. They tell you once again segment WXYZ is a parallelogram. So I instantly mark my opposite sides parallel, so that way I remember that I have all these other properties happening. Now, what's the one thing I know? I know that the opposite pair of sides are congruent. I also know that these two are supplementary. Now, the cool thing is the angles don't help me right now, okay? I want to know the length of YZ. Well, in order to do that, I have to find A. So I'm going to use the fact that my opposite sides are congruent with this. So I get 8A minus 4 is equal to 6A plus 10. So I get 2A minus 4 is equal to 10 because I just subtracted 6A from both sides. I add 4 to both sides. Divide by 2. A is equal to 7. All right, then let's go to segment YZ. With segment YZ, we plug and chug it in. We go 8 times 7 minus 4. 8 times 7 is what? 56. Very good. Minus 4 equals 52. There is YZ. We just use the property that opposite sides are parallel. All right, let's do another one real quick using the same thing. Notice it's the exact same diagram that we just had, but this time I want to know the measure of angle Z. Now, what did we say about these two angles earlier? They're consecutive angles. They're one right after each other, so we know they're supplementary because that's a property of a parallelogram. And I got to make sure I mark my parallelogram again. And if you forgot that, you could use the fact the parallel lines make that C shape so they're same side interior angles. Another way to think about it. So now I'm going to go ahead and add those two together. And now remember why. Consecutive angles are what? Supplementary. I can add them together to equal 180. 18b minus 11 plus 9b plus 2, got a 9, equals 180. So that's 27b minus 9 equals 180. add 9 to the other side. So 27b equals 189. Divide by 27. B is going to equal 7. Now we're not done yet because I'm looking for the measure of angle Z. So we got to plug it in, right? Okay, so let's do it. So the measure of angle Z is equal to 9 times 7 plus 2. So we get 63 plus 2 is equal to 65 degrees. So that's the measure of angle Z. All right, let's do one last one together, and then we're going to do a couple hard problems, which I'm sure you're so excited about doing. All right? But here we have a parallelogram again. Notice the diagonals are the parts that are being marked up. So E, F, G, H is a parallelogram. What do we know about the diagonals of a parallelogram? If you forget, where should we look first? Our notes. So what does it say? The diagonals, what? Each other. Bisect each other. So I should have automatically marked in my diagram, these two are equal and those two are equal. Now I'm looking for the length of segment JG. So do I really need to use those two? No. I'm going to use the fact that because they're bisected, EJ is going to equal JG. So I'm going to go 3W is equal to W plus 8. Subtract the W over. 2W is equal to 8. Divide by 2. W is equal to 4. Now we're going to plug and check. So we go JG is equal to 4 plus 8, because I'm plugging it in, it equals 12. There's your answer. All right, so those are applying those. Notice I marked up the diagram with the properties and stuff that I knew.